Hi, Fluffer. No, we're not playing right now. Hey guys, I'm going to wait a few minutes until a couple of people come on, just make sure everything's working. But as you show up, leave a comment below. Let me know you're here. I'm really excited to share this with you. It really has been such an amazing experience to be part of this project from the beginning. And I am excited to show you some behind the scenes of what's new with the Knowledge Broker Blueprint 2.0. I always have to hesitate with that because name change is messing me up. Knowledge Broker instead of Knowledge Business Blueprint, we're good to go. But honestly, it's been so cool to see this go from just conception, from the first time that I talked to Dina and his team about this about 2 years ago, and watch it transform into this worldwide movement that it's become with over 30,000 people strong. Hey Tracy, and from 150 different countries, from possibly every single niche that you could ever imagine. Like crazy niches you would never even think about. I mean, but it's amazing. So I think that's really what my favorite part about what I do is being able to be part of taking something from an idea and turning it into a reality, because it really is amazing of what we are capable of and extremely inspiring. So I'm going to go ahead to give you a little bit of context behind this. About 2 years ago, I started working with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi to create the what was then Knowledge Business Blueprint, and recently relaunched to the Knowledge Broker Blueprint this year, the 2.0 version. And so I want to answer any questions that you guys have. Go ahead and start putting them in the comments. I'll look at them periodically, try to stay focused on talking and teaching first. Otherwise I get sidetracked and just completely lose my train of thought. But go ahead, post them as they come up, because then I'll review them and answer them later. Even if you're watching afterwards, also always look at the comments and answer them to the best of my ability when I see them. So I also am going to link to the first video I did from last year when we launched the Knowledge Business Blueprint for the first time, because I did a really in-depth Facebook Live similar to this, and then also a link to Membarium's interview, because that went really in-depth also into the gamification strategy and a lot of the other functionality of the course. So I'm going to try to keep this focused on the new content and the changes and just my thought process, because I think one of the most valuable things when I'm learning from someone or I'm watching content, I really like to get insight into how their brain works and how they make decisions, because then I feel like I have a better understanding. Or I just think that's the most powerful, when you can get the why behind something's done, not just what was done. And so finally, I'm also going to link, I should probably do that now if I can. No, I'll do it afterwards. But I'm going to link to, if you're planning on joining the Knowledge Broker Blueprint, I'm going to link to my partner link. If you purchase through my program, through my link, you'll also get access to my flagship course, Online Courses Academy Phase 1, which is $700. You get that completely free if you join through the Knowledge Broker Blueprint through my link. So I will share that. And then let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I was just talking about content marketing the other day, and we were talking about TikTok and how I wanted to start doing TikTok, but a lot of it's dancing and music and songs and things of that nature. But what was I going to say? Oh, I think I'm going to do my first TikTok video on all the different systems that you need to do a Facebook Live. It is absolutely crazy. I think it's probably 10 different things. Okay, so let me share. 1 second. I'm going to go. I just did that. It's picking up the wrong camera though, and that's going to drive me absolutely insane. There we go. The lighting's going to be all off. Hey, Sarah. Yeah, any questions you have, post them there. You can see my screen. Okay, so we are good. Right now, this is let me move this so I can see. And now we can all see. We're good to go. This is the new homepage of the Knowledge Broker Blueprint. So what's new? The last course, we structured it into 4 modules. And essentially, the structure and the framework of the course is similar, very similar, but just expanded upon. Because as Tony always says you should have the philosophy of constant and never-ending improvement. So true to form, Dean and Tony would never settle for anything less than making something as the best version it could possibly be. So you'll notice that there's a new color. It's not the gold anymore, so there can be a differentiation between the first version of the course and the second. And now the first course was in 4 modules, which was extract it, fill it, run it. And then also the knowledge broker. So actually, let me take a step back because I need to remember that some of you might not have ever heard of the knowledge broker blueprint or what this course is about. So let me just explain from a big picture overview of what this program actually is, and we'll, I guess, yeah, like the big picture about that. So, oops, we're starting shit. Oh, cussing. Okay, so the knowledge broker blueprint, essentially it teaches you how to turn your expertise into a mastermind. And if you're not familiar with what a mastermind is, it could be used synonymously with the word like event or group coaching or workshop. But the philosophy behind it is that the collective genius, when you bring people together to focus on one specific topic or industry, the collective genius is exponentially more powerful than what you could ever do on your own. So it's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 6, because as Napoleon Hill says, when you bring 2 minds together, it creates like a third mind. And I have been part of masterminds since I started my business. I can promise you I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for them. And so I was extremely passionate about this like concept from the get-go, and then just seeing what it's turned into is absolutely amazing. So the course, like I had mentioned before, was originally broken down into, actually, let me share my screen real quick. That'll be easier for me to explain. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, let me see. I even have Tony on my, oh, you can't see, I'm not sharing yet. Okay, there we go. I was like, even have Tony on my background of my iPad. It's from Date with Destiny. Let's pull this up. Okay, so the only way my brain really works is if I'm doodling. And so I draw out everything. And the way that we structured this course is really thinking about where are your customers, or where are the potential customers now, and where do they want to be? And then what is the pathway for getting there? And so the first step to being able to create a mastermind or a workshop or a program is you have to get your expertise out of your head and into a structure for a course. So luckily for us, Tony and Dean have been doing this very successfully with a combined 65 years of experience. So they've unpacked everything that they've learned throughout those years and put it into a systematic framework that we've now turned into the Knowledge Broker Blueprint. And so the first step is this extraction phase. So this is a brain, if you can't tell, and we're getting everything out of your head and then into a systematized structure. So you have an agenda, you have a framework to follow, and a flow for the course. Then from there, you need to be able to fill the mastermind. You need people like get what do they call it? Get butts in the seats, or fill the seats, something like that. And so this is really focusing on your sales and marketing side of things. And then after you fill the mastermind, you need to run it. And this is where the like operations and more tactical components come into play of like logistics on how to run a 5-star mastermind. So then we're going to run it. And then the last part of the course in the original version was called like the knowledge broker or knowledge consultant phase. And this is what I think has so much potential that it's so exciting, because you don't need to have any expertise. You don't need to have a following. You don't need to have any of that stuff in order to be able to implement this. And you're probably thinking, well, how is that possible? And the knowledge broker, like if you think of that term, it's very similar to the concept of just a regular real estate broker. So the real estate broker, their role is to facilitate the transaction between the buyer and the seller. So they bring the buyers and sellers together and help facilitate that sale of the home or renting it or whatever it may be. A knowledge broker is that same concept, but you are now facilitating the kind of running the operations behind this mastermind. So you could go and find any any like expert or influencer or thought leader, whatever word you want to use. And now you're like, hey, would you like to run a mastermind? All you have to do is just show up and you do you and do what you love, what you're great at, answering questions, teaching, and then I'll handle everything else. I will do the planning, I'll do the setup, I'll handle the operations. You don't have to worry about finding someone to like a place to have it or sales or any of that stuff. You just have to show up, and then we'll split the revenue 50-50. And that is just such an amazing opportunity, because all of those limiting beliefs that may have been coming up in your head before about how, I'm not an expert, I can't do this, or I don't have a big enough following, or I don't know, or I don't know if I'll be able to sell it. Those all literally go out the window. And if you're still thinking, well, I don't know any experts, or I don't know anyone right now that would be able to do that, my word of advice for you for that is that if you started taking even a fraction of that energy that you spend on convincing yourself, regardless of what area of your life you're trying to improve, if you took a fraction of that energy that you spent convincing yourself about why you can't do something and put that towards asking a better question about, well, how could I meet someone? Your life will be radically different. I don't mean that that comes from love, but it's just a straight up truth. Just a little bit more energy into how can I make this work versus not making it work. Only if you want to. I'm not trying to do something tell you to do something you don't want to. But that's just a philosophy that I really, really think is so important to get really ingrained in your subconscious, not just on a conscious level, subconscious light. But yeah, so that is that. It is just an amazing opportunity, and I will now dive back into this course. Now let me kind of some context over what the course is about. So this is, let me know if you can see the screen. Okay, so that was the original. It was 4 modules to begin with. We've now moved it to 6 modules, and these middle 4 are very similar to the first ones, but we've included a module 1 on mastering your mindset, and then expanded upon the marketing side of things. So where before it was just the fillet stage was the marketing, we've now moved it to marketing mastery and generating the right clients. And so I think of this similar to like macro and microeconomics, because I'm a nerd, but macroeconomics is more of like the big picture strategy behind the concept. And so that's what marketing mastery is, more of that macro level, like more strategy, more branding, more messaging, and things of that nature. Where generating the right leads is more the microeconomics side, and it's very tactical on like how to actually execute this marketing strategy that you learned in macro, and things like social media marketing, running a podcast, paid advertisements, all that tactical implementation, still super important, but completely worthless if you don't understand the macro level. And then we'll go to running the event, and now the knowledge consultant, knowledge broker part of things. So if we were to jump into this from a design standpoint, like what do we do differently? And I'll explain why. Obviously, it looks different. The slider is new, because what was working first, which I love that design. I'm logged out. Great. 1 second. So I love the design of the original version, but this one, like, it didn't work the same way when we had 6 modules. So this was changed up to a slider. The other thing that I'm excited that I got to fix, that I think was a mistake on my part from a user experience, was not differentiating the design for the modules versus the lessons. And so this course, because it is very robust, like if I pull out the outline right here, you'll see that it is immense, because it really does cover everything that you need to know in order to execute this. So there's an extra layer than most courses usually have. Most courses, I recommend you have your modules and then you have your lessons within your modules. The Knowledge Broker Blueprint, KBB for short, I'm going to start using that because that's just a long way of saying the name. It has extra layer. So it goes modules, lessons, and then sessions. So before the other design, the module page and the lesson page were almost like they were exactly the same design. And I realized afterwards, as I was going through the course, it was not just immediately transparent as to what type of page you're on. So now with the new design, it's very obvious whether you're on a module page or a lesson page, because this is the module, it's very blue. And then when we click on the lesson pages, you'll see it goes back to more of the original design before. And so this is a lesson page, and then within the lesson now has all of the sessions in that lesson. So hopefully that makes sense. The structure of the lesson page is very, very similar. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to share about design. Oh, yes, there was. Okay. The other thing with design, I'm going to make this smaller. When I am designing a course for mobile, I like it to look or have as much of an app feel as possible. So before there was more white space that wasn't really necessary, and I just think like the cleaner and more concise you can make it on mobile, because it's a much smaller screen, the better. So now more video space here, less distraction, and I wish I would have had my phone to show you so that we could see exactly what it looks like there. But yeah, I like it a lot. I think it looks a lot better. So yeah, that's my opinion. Of course I do. I've made it that way. Let's go back over here. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to actually the module page. And one thing, I mentioned this before in the other video, but I think it's so important, I want to mention it again. Some of the things that you might not pick up right away when it comes to designing a course is understanding really the importance of clear navigation and progress, and letting our users know exactly where they are at any point in the process. Because when someone's learning something new, it's already like using a lot of energy to consume that content, to try to understand these new concepts. There's a lot of limiting beliefs or overwhelm that can happen. If you now put on, like, pile on top of that frustration from not knowing what they've completed, where they are in the process, or not being able to get to where they need to go easily, it just adds another layer of complexity and frustration that could then just like get them to be like, you know what, I'm not even going to do this right now. I'm going to do it later. And then that turns into never doing it. And then that turns into an unhappy customer, or someone who's not being able to get to the results that they would have been able to if, in other words. So the navigation here, like, there are so many different ways to get to things, because however the user wants to do it, we want to let them make that decision. But each of these link to the lessons. It shows you what's been completed, what hasn't been completed with this check mark. Every single one of the lessons has the same progress completion here. So you'll notice this is checked, this one's not checked because this hasn't been completed. And these all link there as well. At the bottom of the page, also you'll see next module, previous module. Then you have the sidebar navigation, and then you have the course outline. I don't know how many different ways that is to get to where you want to go, but anywhere you look, without it seeming overwhelming or like it doesn't make sense, there's a easy way to figure out and find where you need to go, including on mobile. Like, all the same experience is the same there. And I think that's so important. And then we come into the progress tracking. So the progress here, this I'll talk about in just a second, the gamification aspects, and then your credit system. So from a gamification standpoint, gamification can be extremely powerful. It's just in our like human nature we like playing games. I don't know, it's just built into our psychology. And they leverage psychological triggers, where the purpose of gamification is to increase the likelihood of getting your customers to take a certain action, or it's basically like an ethical bribe. But where I think people mess up when it comes to gamification is first not having a strategy behind it. So like anything in business, like, you need to know your why, you need to know your outcomes first before you start like jumping into tactics. And so the first step of a gamification process is to first think about, well, what are my outcomes that I want to have happen? And so for any course, of course, one of those objections is going to be user completion rate. So increasing retention. Second, user engagement, how much they're engaging within the community. And then most importantly, I think, is not just like completion rate or retention, but also implementation. Are they actually taking action and putting what they learn into use? And then there's other things such as if you have additional products that you're selling, one of the goals could be upsells or increasing the bottom line ROI. If it's a recurring membership model, like you have recurring software, a software that people pay for a monthly basis, then retention is going to be one of those important aspects of, or one of the objections that you want to pay attention to. And so if retention, which this isn't necessarily like that model, but I'm just using that example, if retention was one of your big focuses, like your bottom line, your profits are really dependent upon how long someone stays on that program, then you want to put a lot of gamification focus on increasing that retention. So maybe there's like, you have a badge for how long someone's been a member. You have special access for people that have been a founding member or a member for 1 year, or if it was like a consistency thing, if you're consistent for 10 weeks without taking a break, then you get to unlock this special bonus. There's a ton of different ways that you can go about doing this, but those are just some of the things that you want to keep in mind is like, okay, what do I want my customers to do? What actions do I want them to take? And then how can I reward that behavior to increase the likelihood that they're actually going to do that? So again, ethical bribes. And then once you know the strategy behind it, then you can look into the game mechanics. And every game has essentially the same components within it, whether it's Yoshi's Island, which is my favorite game on Super Nintendo back when I was, I don't know, like 10, I played it. And I'm 33 now, so maybe 23 years ago. Or The Sims. Like, I love The Sims too. I don't know why that game would even be fun. You're just making people like live in a house on the computer. It doesn't make sense, but I loved it. Or the Oregon Trail, which is probably the worst game. I don't know why I thought that was fun either. Like, you basically, like, you go down it's a computer game from so long ago. I'll have to put a post of it. And you go down the Oregon Trail and try to get your people to not die from random diseases like, I don't know, was it like polio then, or starvation, or fire, or people robbing you? Weird stuff. I love that game. Even that, they all have these same game mechanics that I'm going to mention here. And that is usually there's a point system, there's a level system, there's rewards and recognition for, which in this case would be like badges, and typically a credit system where you can use those points, those levels to unlock certain bonuses, or a lot of times you'll see it where you get to buy. I'm not a gamer now, but I know you can like buy power packs. In the Oregon Trail, I think you could buy medicine or food with points. But anyway, like, regardless of what it is, it's the same game mechanics. And these game mechanics all leverage psychological triggers. Okay, so like go back to synthesize that, because I know it was a lot. You have your strategy, then you have your game mechanics, and each of your game mechanics leverage psychological triggers, which is the reason why they work. And so unlocking bonuses, if we go here, each of the lessons within the Knowledge Broker Blueprint, which I think there's 23 lessons now, has a bonus at the bottom of the page, which is originally locked. And then after you complete the content, you unlock the bonus and you can access it. So what is the objective that we're trying to achieve here? We're trying to increase consumption and user engagement of the course. And the game mechanic here is a reward. And the reward is leveraging the psychological trigger of 1, curiosity, 2, need for completion, 3, achievement. And then they also receive points for each lesson or session they've completed. And then when they pass a quiz, they earn a credit. So you'll notice these credits here. The points and the credits also, they release a shot of dopamine. So it's like your natural happy pill. They are your happy chemical. Anytime you get to check something off a to-do list, you get a dopamine shot. That's why it's exciting, or you're like somewhat addicted to, if you're a list maker, to lists. And then the credits can be used to purchase what we call a power moves. Well, these are the achievements. These are the badges. And then the credits can be used to purchase what are called power moves within the program. And so these are additional bonuses or rewards that are locked whenever you purchase it, or when you haven't purchased it. And then I'm logged in the test user, so hopefully this works. If I want to go purchase one of these right now, because I have 3 credits, so I purchased that one. It says success, your power move has now been unlocked. And now if we return, this is activated. My total credits now have been moved from 3 to 1 because it's like money where we use it to buy something and now we can access this content. So the psychology behind this is, the way I see it, with points, you want to have something that it's like a continual progression, and you can see the upward, you can see yourself like making progress, earning more points, reaching a new level. And then the credits are something like that go away once you use them. The reason why I don't think you want to have one or the other is because you want to keep that forward progression, because it's that need of achievement and completion that comes into play right here. And so just, you can see this all in action. I clicked on the power move and it opened up the new content. And then if we go to the actual account, this is where like everything's kind of like put in together as far as your points, your credit, what level you are. The different levels are listed here, and then the badges that I've achieved. The course journey, again, really important to be able to see everything you've completed and everything that you haven't completed. That's all listed there. And then the levels as far as like how far you've gone or how many points you have is associated to this. Updating email settings. So I think that is most of the new things within the course. Some of them were the same, just a little bit. I wanted to expand upon it a little bit more. And so to take a step back again, the reason why I think this course has been so effective and have had so many amazing results within the community, which now there is about 30,000 people, is because they've combined 3 really powerful things. So one, this is all what I've explained is the structure and the content. My voice is cracking. The structure and the content behind the course. On top of that, they've also invested over $1 million into MindMint software, which is truly remarkable. Like if I had it pulled up on my phone, I would show you what it can do. But this is a tool that now allows you to take everything that you've learned in the content. So now you understand it from a contextual standpoint, you understand the why and the how, but now the tool extremely simplifies and systematizes the process. And so anytime you can do this in your own course, like you have the content, but you can also combine it with some type of tool that makes it easier to implement, you're going to have much better results for your customers and your users. And the third thing, which I think is one of the most important, and it really is, in my opinion, the ultimate competitive advantage, is building a community within your program. Do not underestimate the power of a community for a multitude of reasons. First and foremost, the need for love and connection is our number one human drive. It is the reason we exist, is to feel connected with one another. And even in this day and age, I think even more so than ever, people are yearning and craving for it, because there's a feeling of distance or solitude. As much as the internet has in some ways brought people so much closer together, on another side of the coin, it also feels a little bit more superficial or less connected in ways. It's weird how it can do both at the same time. But if you can build in a community within your program, it is going to give you the ultimate competitive advantage, because it's something that is not Googleable. It's not something that your competitors can imitate or copy. And it's something that really exists forever. And they have done such an amazing job of building a community, a culture of progress and support within that group. Like I can't even go into the Facebook group without putting like a timer on my stopwatch or my phone, because it'll be 2 hours later and I'll be like crying from reading all the stories about people, like what they've accomplished and people supporting each other. It truly is amazing. And success forms in clusters. Like typically you don't see one successful person standing alone by themselves on an island. You're usually surrounded with other successful people. And the reason is that, again, like 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 4 in this case. And so that collective genius and that community of support, it helps everyone achieve the results so much faster. And then even more from like a learning perspective or a neurological perspective, is social learning is a big part of actually moving from short-term learning to long-term memory, where you're not just learning something on a surface level or like a superficial level. Like once you can now incorporate social learning into the dynamic, it helps your users move from short-term memory to long-term memory, or actually from like knowing something to really changing a behavior. Because at the end of the day, that's your number one goal, is to get your customers the results they're looking for, which the only way that's going to happen is with action and implementation of the content. So I'm going to take a break and look at these questions to see if there's anything here. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking and it'll be an hour. There's so much I could talk about. Oh, Jean said TikTok is so fun. It is fun. I like watching it. I usually just follow the dog videos. There's one that's my favorite. I'm not going to try to sing it, but I'm trying to implement it, like see how I could do it for myself. Tech question. For after the class, what are you using for the broadcast interface here? It looks awesome. Oh, thank you. This is Ecamm. Like I had a mind blank. It's Ecamm, and I really do. I love that platform. It's so much fun. Again, once I do my TikTok video of all the different systems that I use for Facebook Live, it really is crazy. I think it's, well, obviously you have Facebook. Then I send out messenger or messages on Facebook with ManyChat. Then Infusionsoft to send the broadcast email. Then Ecamm to do the whole broadcast thing. And then this reflector to show my iPad. And then repurpose.io, which I'm not using now because I forgot. I can't remember how to actually do it because it's been a while since I've done a Facebook Live. And that like allows you to broadcast multiple places simultaneously. So many different things from one Facebook Live. Sometimes like being naive is so much better, because until I knew all this stuff existed, I would have just been like, oh, I'm going to press Facebook Live and go live. And that would have been it. But now that I know it all exists, I'm like, oh my God, I have to use everything. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, if you have any more questions, I'm looking here. Post them here. I will put the link in the comments for the Knowledge Broker Blueprint. And I feel like I'm going to share this. I feel like there was something else. I'm going to wait a second before we jump off. I want to share you this. If you haven't done this before, I need to come up with a different name for it, because I use mind maps I use the term mind map in a different way. There we go, you can see it. But this is how I sketch out content for Facebook Lives, online courses, a speech if I'm doing any public speaking. And it probably looks like complete just nonsense to you, but this all means something to me. And instead of writing things out in words, you're drawing them out in pictures. And you can actually remember things so much faster or longer or better when things are visual versus just through like words and text typically. And this is also really useful for thinking about maybe how you can incorporate this within your online courses when you're teaching someone. Because if you're learning something better through words, is how can you put a concept that might be really complex into a framework that will make it easier for your users to comprehend. So Colin said, any chance of a WordPress plugin breakdown? Yeah, let me see. I don't have a complete list of them, but the most important ones here are obviously LearnDash, which is the LMS system, Membarium, which is the membership plugin. Then everything here, there is no gamification. There's no gamification plugins or anything that's used other than Membarium for all of the games, the badges, the points, the credit system, the power moves, the levels. It's all done with various Membarium shortcodes. And so this is an HTTP post that adds a certain number of points every time a lesson is completed, because Membarium and LearnDash have an integration. And so if you mark a lesson complete, you can trigger an action within Membarium. And this can start adding points or give a credit, and then you could subtract the credit. The course outline is all done with Membarium shortcodes. Whether it's been completed or not completed is based on tags. And the reason why I love Membarium so much is that you can really do anything is possible with it. It's just really mainly thinking about, okay, well, how can I do this? And then typically there's always a way, and the Membarium team is absolutely amazing. If you don't know how to do it, their customer support is phenomenal, and they'll help you figure out a way to do it. But what I was saying was, this course, it was even more important to be able to do all of these things just with one system versus other ones, because of the magnitude, how many users there are on the platform. So speed and just heaviness of the site was always at the number one at the forefront. And originally in the first version, I had tried using a different plugin to do some of this gamification, and it slowed things down so much that I just nixed that. And I'm so glad I did, because this is so much better and gives me so much more flexibility to do whatever I want, versus being reliant upon the limitations of another type of plugin and then have to try to configure everything to look different. So Colin says you can use MemberPress to do that, or do I need to move to Membarium? You can do a certain level with MemberPress. The thing is, MemberPress is just the membership plugin, where Membarium is tied to your CRM. So in this case, the CRM is Infusionsoft. And you need to have a database that's storing a lot of the contacts. There's a lot more steps that go into play than just what's done on WordPress. Everything talks back and forth together. So you have Infusionsoft, you have WordPress with LearnDash, and then Membarium is the liaison, the middleman that talks back and forth to each of them, sending data back and forth. And so to do some of these types of features, this level of gamification, you definitely need to move to Membarium. But you can do a decent amount with MemberPress. And if you don't have to worry about having 30,000 users on the platform, you could use a system like BadgeOS, a plugin that allows you to award points and badges with LearnDash using that system. The other one, so what were the other big things? The design is all custom design. We design everything custom from scratch in Sketch, and this is just a design software, and you could use anything. You could draw on paper, you use Photoshop, but this is I absolutely love Sketch. And so we took the original version. We did a lot of different design variations for the course to begin with, different home pages, different login pages, things of that nature, and then moved over to the new design with the blue. And so if you look at what I was mentioning earlier, what I think was a mistake on my part from a design standpoint was that the module pages and the lesson pages were exactly the same, where now the module pages are definitely blue and these are not blue, they're white. So you know instantaneously when you're on that page. And then I'm trying to think, we use Uncanny Toolkit. I'll put together a short list of the main ones. But those are the most important, that plugin stack: Membarium, LearnDash, and Design in WordPress. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to end that here. And I'll put the link to some of those things in the comments. And I will talk to you guys soon, if I can figure out how to get off of this. Now I have so many things up. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys.